Hi. I'm going to welcome some of the cast and crew here. If you guys can stay for Q&A, we'd appreciate it. So first we have writer, director, all-around filmmaker Victor Nunez, joining us from Florida. Why don't you come on up? Lori Singer is also here with us.
Okay, thank you.
Kirsty, are you here? Kirsty Bryan. And Darish Kashimi, are you here? Oh, do we have other people? Is that it?
Are these on?
Yes. It's on.
Yes. So
Thank you.
here we are.
Congratulations. What a lovely movie. Everybody, what do you think?
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Very kind crowd.
I don't think Victor's mic is on.
Do I?
There you are.
Check.
Yeah, they turn it on from in the back.
There you go.
You guys can come a little closer if you want to.
Okay. Sorry. This is fun. We haven't. Some of us were here. This is only the second time we've been shown it to anyone, so it's fun. And Dariush has seen it for the first time. He's still standing, so that's
first time.
What would you like to know?
So I would like to know. You talk about place as being a character in your films. So talk a little bit more about that.
Oh my goodness. Well, it's kind of obvious, isn't it? Well, this is, I don't hear it very often. There was an Italian neorealism period, and it sort of opened up, and it was a revelation for a lot of filmmakers that there was sort of this, what I always call the triad, character, place, and story. And you could have characters that were the same in different places. You could have different stories, but the place affected the story, and there's a kind of a dialogue back and forth. And to extend, Susan Sontag once said that theater is the art of the general and film is the art of the specific. And so place is specific.
Yeah, and your home is the place that you
Right,
come
kind of
back
there,
to.
yeah. Little stick in the mud.
And Lori, can you talk about how you got involved in this film?
I was in Tallahassee, which is where Victor was at FSU, and I was actually coaching a class, and I met Victor, who told me that he had a very interesting script he was working on.
I didn't say
And
interesting.
he didn't say very interesting. Okay, I interpreted it as very interesting. And so we went and spoke for a while, and then about 5 years later, Victor gave me a call. So.
Wow.
And Victor, where did the idea for Rachel Hendrix come from?
Well, you know, as these things, it starts a lot. It started from a very personal grieving experience, and it was for about 2 years a sort of a survival tactic. Mm-hmm. And then it just evolved. If you note, I don't know, I sort of go back and forth between protagonists, male and female, and it just feels, and I kind of thought about a grieving story. If I had to deal with a man, I would have gone crazy, because there would have been just sort of like nothing there but two guys. And this expanded the horizon, and you know, it felt right. And this story was written initially before COVID, and when COVID came along, I went on, walked in the woods for some time. Well, my story's over. I don't know how it's going to work. And I had what now feels like an obvious little light bulb. Actually, it's the perfect place to tell this story. And so everything just sort of fit together by that time. It's sort of like part of the place. This place was dealing with COVID.
Right.
So.
And our friend Heidi Levitt, who is an alum of of Barnard. It was the driving force in getting us to see this film. So we
Right.
dedicate this to her.
We should say something. A shout out to Heidi. She
Heidi.
wanted so much to be here. I know you did before. I think some of her family may still be here. Her son is it? You're her sister.
Sister.
Okay.
Sister-in-law, will you send her our love?
Yes,
Okay, great.
and so I think I'm delighted that we're here. It is Heidi is so proud of being an alum,
Yes,
and she. So, thank you for having us.
it's our pleasure. Kirsty, talk a little bit about your experience with the film.
Oh, this is heaven. I came into the world. They did our first days together. We came down to Tallahassee, and I have the distinct pleasure of diving in with them, and what Lori and Victor did together. This is a massive piece. Like you can see, just so I was so happy to just be with them.
And Darius, you too, talk about your getting involved.
Well, first of all, Victor, thank you for never having to put me through an audition for the movie. Though, however, I was applying for a teaching job at FSU to teach on-camera acting, and Victor was there for my interview, and then I got that job, and then we were eating in a student dining hall one day, and he gave me 2 tangerines that he picked from his backyard, and he goes, "I got this movie. I'm going to send you the script." So, Victor, the movie was better than the tangerines.
Well, that's because they were satsumas.
Okay, whatever.
I should say something because we get a chance. Both Kirsty and Dariush, you don't have a world without a world, and both of you brought so much life to it. I mean, it was like, in Dariush's case, you can imagine him sitting in the middle of North Florida, and who am I going to get to play? At that time, his name was Bill, and I see this face come on and start talking, and it was like a gift. And Kirsty, these two, I can't say enough about it, and I don't think you can. It's just to work with you all was just fantastic.
Thanks, Victor. Thank you.
Thank you to Heidi for finding me.
Lori, did you and Victor know each other before you were down in
No.
Florida? Okay.
No.
So I would imagine you developed a relationship as you were going on the journey for Rachel Hendrix. So talk a little bit about how you worked together, how you found the character.
Well, Rachel is a very personal character, for Victor especially.
Rachel is Rachel. There's
Okay.
only one person.
With someone very close to Victor in mind, I think. So I took a lot from our conversations and reading the text many times. And Victor has a very special world created in Rachel, with many different layers of thought, which are, I think, often Rachel's not present. Because, at least in the beginning, and that's what Victor was really intense about, she's not really here, but she's here. And she's speaking to someone, but she's not really hearing what they're saying. And it was a difficult little quandary to think about, because Victor was quite insistent that, no, she's not here yet, she's not here yet. And I have a very special line on every single scene, actually, about where she's sort of being captured, why she's not exactly present. Is it the past? Is it the future? Is it something lost? Is it a person that she wishes were there? Is it a room where they used to be in? And so that each moment is sort of infused with that, from Victor, from place, and from character. And as soon as I knew that Kirsty was going to be Susan, we spoke on the phone at length, and we had a whole history. And when she came out, we traveled back and forth on a road, just talking for hours and playing out many scenarios, and then bringing it in to what we were doing. We walked around the actual pond where we were playing with the kids, and I took videos actually of the place before Kirsty came, so we talked about it. And with Dariush, we were exchanging poems from Taha Muhammad Ali, and Dariush was explaining to me the whole culture, because I think Rachel was very taken with Omid and that character, and I think that fed her a lot. And so we had this to bring when we were there, so that everything he said meant much more to me, even if I'm masked. So I really appreciated his strength, and that we had many adventures just on the set, as we always do filming, and I think it all was to fulfill Victor's vision.
Well, this is always the opportune time, because everybody always says about the director's vision. And I think if a director's lucky, the vision has a stranglehold on them. You're just sort of hanging on for the ride. The wonderful thing that I experienced with this, the script is the best directing you can do. And if you've got the script kind of right, then you guys take over and you take ownership of it. And there's something kind of wonderful about seeing that happen, because when an actor does the part, it's so much more than you could have imagined. And I do think that right here you see 3 actors who brought, it's amazing, their life and their feeling and their knowledge to the part. And so it's a very simple story, really. If it's unusual, it's because maybe we don't touch that often on things that we all really kind of know about. And so I feel honored that these were the folks that got to help make it happen.
I love how you talk about sharing your script, because, a lot of directors really don't talk like you talk, Victor.
Well, that's probably a good thing.
No, I think it's a good thing the way that you do it, because our festival is about, leadership, different kinds of leadership, and your leadership here. And we also had Paul Weitz' movie yesterday. And so it's important for all of us who think about women's leadership to see men leading differently too, because we all have to live in this world together.
Well, it's an interesting, I was brave enough to see the wonderful documentary yesterday.
About My Name is Andrea.
Andrea, and Small World. I did a film years and years ago with Ashley Judd, and she's one of the Andreas in that film. And it did occur to me, and this started because in the 70s I did a film called Gal Youngin, and the protagonist is a woman. So I come armed with all sorts of texts and in terms of saying, like Wendy Lesser wrote a book in which she talks about how some of her finest insights about women were from men, and vice versa. After all, if we weren't sort of in common, we wouldn't realize how we were different. I'm not the person who created that statement. I'm always shocked when it comes along, and I do think that you got to have everything kind of at once, and you do sort of collectively rise. And life is hard anyway. So it's interesting how often we seem to find ways to make it even more difficult on ourselves and on each other. And to me, Rachel is a hero, because she takes it on in a way that in real life, and I'll paraphrase one more person, Ian Forster said, the reason for the novel is we can know people better there than we can in life. And we need that experience. And ideally, if you're lucky, if you have a movie that somebody sees and feels better about their own life and about what they're doing and what they're up to, then the movie's done something. And hopefully it's sort of in an interesting, fun way. And you guys do this all the time. You're acting from one part to another, and it's always scary to me. They've had to leave 2 years ago. I've been living with this movie, and it's time now that the Rachel door has closed behind me, and I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. But it was a great experience while I was having. Thank you so much for coming and putting up with us.
I think that's probably a great way to end this, except I also want to make sure you all see Victor's other movies. Ruby in Paradise, which is where I discovered him, Yuli's Gold. They're beautiful. So thank you all so much for being here, and thank you for sharing your movie
Thank
with
you.
us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
all.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
Okay. So,
Watch out,
it
don't
makes
trip.
sense.